चलो, हाँ, now I am starting CPU scheduling or the process scheduling. What is this? Okay, now we know that the states of the process. Process is divided into various states from ready state, IO state, in a wait state, or it may be in a terminated state. Okay. So what is meaning of CPU scheduling? CPU scheduling means operating system have to select one of the process for execution. If there are multiple processes are available and they are ready for execution, then they are always in a ready queue. Okay, you know that what is meaning of the IO queue and ready queue. Ready queue is a one type of mechanism that is managed by your operating system, and every process which are ready for execution, there is no problem with that. But multiple processes are under execution, and if there is only one CPU is there which will actually execute your process, then all the processes which are ready for execution, they will be in a ready queue. Now, right now you can assume that ready queue is a one type of first in first out form. So which process is available in the first in the ready queue, let's say it will be selected for the execution. Okay, under the execution, if there may be some input output request, if that process requires something from input, then it will be go to the IO queue. If you need the input from keyboard, then it will be expecting something from keyboard, then it will be go into the IO queue of the particular device. If it is a printer, then printer has its own queue. If it is a keyboard, then keyboard has its own queue. If it is a scanner, that means ultimately you can understand every device has its own input output queue, IO queue. Okay, now that process will go to the IO queue. Once the IO will be satisfied, suppose it is expecting some data from keyboard. Once you enter your data from keyboard, data is already available. Again, it will come to the ready state. It will be come to the ready state. It will be come into the ready queue. Again, it will be wait for CPU. जब उसका turn आएगा तब तक वो wait करेगा. Once its turn will be there, it will be executed, and it may be possible, it may be completed, it may be terminated also. It may be. That means we know the process states. Okay. Now, right now you can assume that what this diagram want to say, what is meaning of CPU burst and IO burst. CPU burst and IO burst. You can say, or you can assume the process may be CPU bound or IO bound. What is meaning of CPU bound and IO bound process? If a process required much CPU for execution compared to input output request. Again, if any process has much of the operation which are related to CPU compared to input output request, then that process is known as a CPU bound process. CPU bound मतलब उसको पूरी प्रोसेस को कंप्लीट होने में एग्जीक्यूशन ज़्यादा करना पड़ता है और इनपुट आउटपुट उसका कम है. Let's say you want to find out the maximum number from 3 numbers. Okay, that program may be of 25 or 30 lines code. 30 लाइन का एक प्रोग्राम अपने C में लिखा है. Now you can say that is once you will run that program, it will become a process. Now that process required much CPU compared to input output. क्या input चाहिए उसको? Only 3 value. Enter value of A, B and C. Once you have 3 values are available, that means you have a 3 instructions: scanf A, scanf B and scanf C. Only 3 instructions which required input data from keyboard. Clear? 3 ही instruction ऐसी है जो input output आपके पास input मांगती है. Once that input is available, then your maximum line of the code is to do the calculation. You will compare the value of A with B, value A of C. Once it will be there, you you will take the decision maximum number is A. Else में जाओगे, उसमें जाके अगर again compare करोगे, if B is greater than A, if B is greater than C, then max is equal to C. Else max is equal to, sorry, max in previous case max was B, and else max is C. This is your calculation. These are the not instruction which required any input. Okay, these are the calculation to compare the if condition, to compare two variables. That means these many instructions required CPU. ये सब comparison करने में to take the decision which number is maximum, you require the CPU. Yes, ये काम कौन करेगा? CPU करेगा. So you have more than 10-15 lines more than 10-15 lines which require the CPU for execution. Once it is decided, then again you want to print the message, the maximum number is equal to max. That is a output information. That means that instruction generate the output on your screen. So input device is your keyboard, output device is your monitor. समझ में आ रहा है? So out of 30 line, you can say 5 to 7 lines which are related to input output, but rest of the 23 lines are required the CPU operation. So you can say this process is a CPU bound process. क्यों? क्योंकि उसमें CPU को execute करने की instruction ज्यादा है compared to input output device. Clear? Reverse case. If you want to copy 10 files from your pen drive to hard disk, 10 PDF है आपके पास chapter number 1 to 10. Now you want to copy this 10 process from pen drive to hard disk. So once you open your pen drive, once you select the 10 PDFs, once you do the copy operation, Control C, you open your hard disk, C drive में जाओ, D drive में जाओ, वहां जाके paste कर रहे हो. So that is a process. But here, this process is much IO oriented. Q, because it has to select the file number 1 from pen drive, it has to copy that file into hard disk. It will select the second PDF file from pen drive, it will copy and paste into the hard disk. Same way for the 10 PDF files. So you can assume that this process required much IO operation compared to CPU operation. इसमें execution कम होता है, लेकिन copy paste operation ज़्यादा होता है. So you can say that is a IO bound process. समझ में आ रहा है? So if someone asks, it is an interview question, what is meaning of CPU bound process and IO bound process? CPU bound process means that process required much CPU for execution compared to input output request. But the IO bound process means the process required more input output operation compared to the calculation or the execution of the instructions. Clear? So what is meaning of CPU burst and CPU IO burst? Burst means particular time slot. Burst means particular time slot or cycle, you can say. So CPU burst means what is the minimum time, what is the minimum cycle required to perform the operation, that is your CPU burst. IO burst, what is the minimum time required to complete the input output operation, that is your IO burst. So your process is a combination of CPU operation as well as the IO operation. So whenever you want to design any algorithm for CPU scheduling, we are discussing the chapter scheduling. Scheduling means what? The order of the execution of the processes which are given for the CPU for execution. किस order में process को select किया जाए CPU को execute करने में? That means once you design any algorithm, any CPU scheduling algorithm, then the selection of the process should be good proper mix. Good proper mix means if you will select only IO bound processes, मानो कि एक process ये लिए, process number 1, process number 2, process number 10. If your selection will be more IO bound, then your IO will be busy, but CPU become free. If you will select more CPU bound process का selection ही आपका ऐसा है, algorithm ही आपने ऐसे design किया है, it will select the CPU bound processes. So CPU will become very busy, but IO become free. So whenever you design any algorithm, whenever you write the code for any particular algorithm, or even whatever the algorithms which are available in operating system में CPU scheduling के जितने भी algorithms हैं, these all algorithms should be good proper process mix. Good mixing होना चाहिए. Good mixing means what? We have to select few IO processes, then CPU process, IO process, CPU process, IO process, CPU process, in a such a manner that your CPU will be also busy and IO will be also busy. CPU may not become idle, IO may also not become idle. Selection आपका ऐसा होना चाहिए, and nowadays all the modern operating system will take care about that. They will select the process based on that criteria. समझ में आ रहा है? Okay, so this says that large number of soft short bursts and small number of large bursts. What is meaning of this? Large number of short bursts means the process which will require less CPU. Short burst means what? जिनका CPU time short है. So if you have a shorter CPU time, then after every 1 millisecond or after every microsecond your process will be switched. समझ में आ रहा है? अगर CPU burst time बहुत कम है तो क्या होगा? प्रोसेस जैसे ही सिलेक्शन के लिए जाएगा एग्जीक्यूशन के लिए, तुरंत ही उसका टाइम स्लाइस एक्सपायर हो जाएगा. यू हैव टू सिलेक्ट द सेकंड प्रोसेस. जैसे सेकंड प्रोसेस ली, अभी तो उसका पीसीबी रीड किया, एग्जीक्यूशन स्टार्ट ही किया है और सीपीयू स्विच हो जाएगा, तो आपको नेक्स्ट प्रोसेस सिलेक्ट करनी पड़ेगी. सो इफ द सीपीयू टाइम विल बी वेरी लेस, देन द कॉन्टेक्स्ट स्विच बिकम वेरी हाई. समझ में आ रहा है? क्योंकि स्विचिंग बहुत जल्दी करना पड़ रहा है आपको. ओके. Small number of large burst means now if the CPU burst cycle is very large, मतलब मानो कि आपने 2 सेकंड का रख दिया, तो once the process will be selected for execution, it will be executed for 2 minutes. Then it will select the next process. Next process will be executed for 2 minutes. Third process will be selected. It will be executed for 2 minutes. But 2 minutes is a very large nowadays. For any computer, 2 minutes is a very large time. So if the CPU cycle will be very high, very large, then switching will be less. But if the CPU will be very short, if the CPU burst cycle is very short, then switching will be very high. So again you have to take care that your CPU burst cycle should be proper. वो बहुत कम भी नहीं होना चाहिए. बहुत कम होगा तो कॉन्टेक्स्ट स्विचिंग ज्यादा होगी, अगर बहुत बड़ा होगा तो कॉन्टेक्स्ट स्विच कम होगी, but the response time of the process will become high. 2 मिनट, मानो कि 10 प्रोसेस है, आपकी प्रोसेस का नंबर 10 है और every process given the 2 minute, then the 10th process have to wait 18 minute. 18 मिनट वेट करने के बाद आपका प्रोसेस का टर्न आएगा फॉर एग्जीक्यूशन. 18 मिनट तो बहुत बड़ी बात है. अगर आपने ब्राउजर ओपन किया और वहां पे लिखा gmail.com और वो 18 मिनट के बाद अगर उसका रिस्पॉन्स आता है एंटर योर यूजर नेम एंड पासवर्ड, तो क्या अभी जीमेल को कभी यूज करोगे? नो. कोई मोबाइल एप्लीकेशन आपने ओपन की, वहां पे क्लिक किया, टच करके उसको टैप किया, अब वो प्रोसेस 18 मिनट के बाद ओपन होने वाली है. 18 मिनट की क्या बात कर रहे हैं? अगर आप 18 सेकंड के बाद ओपन होती है ना, तो भी हम मानते हैं कि ये प्रोसेस तो बहुत स्लो है, मेरा मोबाइल बहुत पुराना हो गया, इट डज नॉट हैव इनफ मेमोरी टू रन द मच प्रोसेसेस. नया मोबाइल चाहिए. So we cannot wait for 18 seconds. We cannot wait for 1.8 second even. क्लिक करने के बाद विद इन 1.8 माइक्रोसेकंड में हमें रिस्पॉन्स चाहिए, प्रोसेस ओपन हो जानी चाहिए. इफ इट इज अ फेसबुक, देन आफ्टर 1.8 माइक्रोसेकंड तो मैंने 3-4 मैसेज तो पढ़ भी लिए फेसबुक ओपन करके. दैट मीन्स द सिलेक्शन ऑफ द सीपीयू साइकिल शुड बी प्रॉपर. ओके, अगेन दिस जॉब इज डन बाय द ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम. इट मे बी योर लिनक्स ओएस or Windows, or it may be your Android, कुछ भी.